Hi, this is Keith with Phillips 66 Aviation, and we're going to talk today about Save a Life, Verify Fuel Type. And it's a program we started last year. We've been training at FBOs forever, but we've actually started this program to talk to pilots and to try to get communication between that pilot and the FBO. So we'll go ahead and get started. So something to think about. How many aircraft do FBOs fuel per day? So let's just think about this. If we say, hey, 22, we'll pick 22. In 10 days, that's 220 different aircraft they've seen possibly. In 100 days, that's 2,200. And in 1,000 days, that's 22,000 aircrafts that they've put fuel in. So one of the things we want to make sure about is communication. So, 2 words I want everybody to remember, every pilot out there. Any idea what those 2 words would be? Communication and also verification. So we're going to talk about today about things that don't happen a lot in the industry, but when they do, it's catastrophic, and that's a misfueling of an aircraft. So, these 2 aircraft right here, they look very similar. The top one takes Jet A. The bottom one takes Avgas 100. Here's 2 aircraft that were parked on the same tarmac. If you look at these 2, the tail number is almost identical. The back aircraft takes Jet A. The front aircraft takes Avgas 100. So when you look at that, you have to remember that aircrafts look alike, but they take different fuel. Here's 5 aircraft that don't look alike. If you look over the left one, look at the bottom right one, 5 different aircraft. I want everybody to close their eyes for just 3 seconds. I'm going to count to 3, and when I say 3, I want everybody to open their eyes. So go ahead and close your eyes. 1, 2, 3. This is what those 5 aircraft looked like moments after they took off. Each one of these aircraft were misfueled. A mistake was made between the pilot and the FBO. So, those are the dates that they actually crashed. The FBOs didn't show up to work that day to make a mistake. The pilot, didn't show up that day to crash his aircraft. So, with that said, we started this campaign to try to communicate, to get people to communicate between that pilot and the FBO. Common themes in aircraft misfuelings. They're human errors. We call it the human factor, the dirty dozen. Lack of communication, lack of teamwork, lack of assertiveness, complacency, fatigue, stress to get things done. The other half, lack of knowledge, lack of resources, lack of awareness, distractions, pressure, norms. All those things lead to catastrophic events, accidents. So what we've started is a campaign. But we want to look at the breakdowns. When you are a pilot and you come into the FBO to get fuel, you have to have good communication between the pilot and the FBO. You have to verify or communicate the fuel type, and the FBO should verify it back to you. Things we see, pilot not communicating the grade of fuel, the quantity of fuel, and the tail number of aircraft. Normally I spend a lot of time training FBOs. This week I came to Oshkosh to work with pilots to understand the breakdown in communication. FBOs, they got to verify fuel, the grade of fuel, the quantity of fuel, make sure it gets into the correct tank. I've heard all kinds of stories this week about aircrafts being fueled in the wrong tank. They tell them in the right tank. That's when the pilot's sitting in that aircraft, the right tank. But they actually put it in looking at the aircraft, so they actually put it in the left tank. But you've got to make sure you get the grade of fuel, the quantity of fuel, the tail number of the aircraft, and make sure your aircraft has good wing decals on there. If they're faded or not in good shape, they need to be replaced. And then always verify the fuel type. That credit card receipt has the type of fuel. So before you sign that invoice, make sure it says Avgas 100 or Jet A, if that's the product you need. So communication, but also verification. Wing decals, make sure they're on the aircraft, on that fueling port, in good shape. Piston engines that are being converted to turbine or diesel engines create an issue. They increase the risk of misfueling. They don't make the openings bigger, so we have to use a round jet nozzle in the industry to fuel those with jet fuel now. The aircraft used to take avgas, but now it takes jet fuel. So Piper Malibu that's been converted, you know, they're used to seeing it. They have one on the field that is being converted to jet fuel. Another one lands that hasn't been converted. They get confused, and that's why we go back to communication and verification. Also keep in mind if you have a diesel airplane. You know, everybody thinks that the duckbill nozzle is going to solve our problem, but the duckbill nozzle isn't going to solve our problem. It's a tool. The communication and verification is what solves our problem. But on the diesel aircrafts, keep in mind the avgas nozzle is the smallest nozzle there is, so it will fit in any aircraft. So, and if you put diesel or avgas into a diesel airplane, it will also crash on takeoff, just like if you put jet fuel in an avgas airplane. So here's a video with a wooden airplane. My question to the pilots out there, have you seen this video? It was made years ago by EI, Energy Institute. And this video talks about misfueling, so I'm going to go ahead and play it. So that video was made by Energy Institute back at least 3 or 4 years ago. And that video is out there, and what we've started, Phillips 66 Aviation, is a program to what we call Save a Life, Verify Fuel Type. If you go to verifyfuel.com, you can see that video and other misfueling training that we've got out there from the industry. Another one is NATA's preventmisfueling.com. This is also, you can go to preventmisfueling.com, or you can go through our website and get to the same place. And what we've done here is NATA created this training back in 2015, I think. But there's also training not only for FBOs, but for pilots. So if you look on this and you go to it, there's a pilot training, FBO manager training, line service training, and customer service. So what we're trying to do is get people to communicate, to go watch the training. So communication, verify fuel type every time. You know, what we need from the pilots is to talk about it to their other pilots, to talk about it to the FBOs. You know, make sure that when you go in that you communicate fuel type and the FBO communicates it back. Make sure the FBOs are verifying the fuel type by the sticker on the wing. Also, when you sign that credit card receipt, always look at it to make sure the fuel type is correct for your fuel. It may have been misfueled, but it hasn't been taken off yet, so nobody's got hurt. And then always do your pre-check to make sure everything is done right. So we have this public awareness campaign we started called Save a Life, Verify Fuel Type. It's www.verifyfuel.com. And we've got all kinds of free training, not only for misfueling, but we also have training for FBOs on receipt of fuel, filtration, and other stuff out there from the filter manufacturers and from Phillips 66. It's for pilots and FBOs. So back to thing, 2 words to remember: communication and verification. I've talked to a lot of pilots this week out here at Oshkosh or AirVenture, and it's been really interesting because a lot of those pilots assume that that FBO knows what kind of fuel goes into their aircraft. They also don't look at that credit card receipt to verify. You know, some have told me they've had some close calls. I had one tell me yesterday that he fueled his airplane, or they fueled his airplane, and he noticed it was splashing fuel all over the wing, and he went out and they were trying to put jet fuel in a Cessna 421. So this is where communication and verification. It starts with the pilot and the FBO working together. So with that, don't forget we got preventmisfueling.com training available. If you have any questions, I'll be around to answer them. But go to verifyfuel.com, and we have free training available there also. So I want to thank everybody for coming. Have a great day.